excited to be at the BCC studios in Valencia, Spain with our fearless leader, Cameron. Cameron is going to share all about himself and his expat journey to Valencia, as well as numerous other things. Cameron, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, first I want to talk a little bit about where you're from and what it was like growing up in, bloody old England.
Okay, so I'm originally from a little place called Skegness, which is on the east coast of England. So if you imagine England, where the bum of England is, if it was a wolf, I used to live literally in the arse end of the UK.
I love that.
It's a tiny seaside town. I lived there until I was 17, and then I moved to London and lived there for 6 years. I love it. My family still live there. They're still there in Skegness. It's a typical seaside town, fish and chips, donkey rides along the beach, a majorly busy summer season, and then it goes like ghost town.
And then was anything exceptional about your childhood, or was it pretty normal?
Well, the most exceptional thing is I'm a twin. I have a twin sister. So for me, the most exceptional thing, I suppose, is how I was born with my best friend. So even in a town where there really isn't a lot going on, I had her. I was really lucky. I didn't start dancing till much later, but I had parents who were always super supportive and would drive me. I got a scholarship to the New English Contemporary Ballet Company when I was 11, but it was 2.5 hours away from home. Every Saturday morning, we'd get up at 6 o'clock. My mum, my dad mainly, and my sister, they would drive me there. Wow. They would have a day in Nottingham. I train, and then we would come home that day. So nothing exceptional apart from just a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of wonderful things happen, for a little small town kid.
Yeah.
There were some great little moments.
Look at you now,
Look at me now.
So tell us about when you actually started dancing and how did you get into it?
Do you know what? The origin of, I actually can't overly remember the exact things. My sister, so my mum was a dancer. Mm-hmm. And so naturally at 3, my sister went to ballet.
Okay.
As most little girls do. Off she trotted, and she would then come home and show us in the kitchen. And then I seemed to be able to do it slightly easier, she won't mind me saying this, than her. And then I remember at 6, my mum saying to me, and all I remember being a kid is if there was music on, I was swinging myself around, and I had a blanket as a scarf, and I was an extravagantly camp child, really. And I remember at 6, mum saying, "Oh, we've got this. They started this new dance class on a Tuesday. We'll go after school. You can try it out. If you don't like it, you don't have to go." And I stayed there until I was 18.
Wow! So you say that, and that reminds me of Declan.
Yeah, I just Jodie came with me. Like, we went together. I think the choice thing, it wasn't ballet. I mean, I then started once I realised I kind of really wanted to be a dancer and I was potentially quite good at it. Then I went to another ballet school. I think I was 10 or 11 by that age, and I did ballet, and I stayed there until I was. I still go back and teach there. Well, she retired this year, but both of those teachers are still huge people in my life.
That's amazing.
To this day. So one was a competition school, so we would travel around the UK competing, me and my sister together.
Oh, that's the best.
And the other, I got both. I got all kind of styles of dance, but yeah, I just remember my mum going, "We're going, come on," and that was it. I never left.
And then you never stopped. And so tell us how you got to London and what that experience was like.
So I danced and trained, and I went to. I fell in love with contemporary lyrical dance and found myself in the New English Contemporary Ballet Company. I did a tour of the Nutcracker with them when I was 14, year 10. I basically didn't do year 10 at school because I toured with the Nutcracker. And I'd just fallen in love with that. But I'd also realised I could sing by this point. And I'd done lots of other bits and bobs. I could sing, I could act a bit. I'm not the strongest actor. I can act a fool, but I'm not doing any Shakespeare. But it was so, and I had friends, a few friends had gone to stage school. Mm-hmm. And it was now I think it's slightly different, but then it was very much if you wanted to be a performer, you needed to go to London, you needed to go to drama school, and you then would go from there.
Yeah.
So I decided to audition a year earlier than I should. So I did 1 year. I finished my GCSEs, so that gets you to year 11. So I was 16, and I auditioned for Atelier Conti, which is a drama school in London, where Naomi Campbell, Russell Brand, all those type of people, Pixie, lots of people come. And I had friends there who loved it, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to audition for one a year early, see how I get on, so I can understand what schools I might want to audition for when I get to 18, to then go instead of going to university. I went to Conti's, I did the audition. I walked through the doors and felt at home immediately. I walked through and felt like I was surrounded by people who kind of understood everything and got me, and I auditioned and I got in with a full scholarship. So I went. Because obviously that's the big thing about drama schools, they're so expensive. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands. And on top of thousands on top of living in London and paying for accommodation. So my parents, we weren't in that position to just throw. And that was so I auditioned in the January 29th. I remember the audition very well. 2 weeks later, I got the offer that I'd got a place, but they don't announce the funding for another 2 months. So I knew I could go if I wanted to, but we were always very clear from the beginning. I was very clear that if I don't we don't go until that happens. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And that is just not meant for me. It was.
Yeah, understandable.
But it did 2 months later. And now the funding I got doesn't really exist anymore. I was one of the last years to get what was called the Dance and Drama Award, the DARDA.
Oh, wow.
Which the government gave at the time.
Okay.
Each drama school had so many. So yeah, and off I went at 17.
That's incredible. So you knew you wanted to be a performer when? So you applied to school. Did you have the intention of going to school so you could be a professional performer?
Yeah, I think so. I actually wanted to be a history teacher up until...
Some things come full circle.
Right? I always wanted to be a history teacher.
That's great. I love that.
And then when I realised, hey, I'm not too bad at this, and there is nothing else that gives me this much joy.
Yeah, heard.
I thought, do you know what? I'm going to at least give it a go.
Yeah.
So I knew I'd have to go to drama school if I wanted to do it. By the time I'd got to drama school, I had already decided that part of my want was to be a creative and not a performer. So as much as I love performing, my bigger thing that lit me up was choreographing and directing and creating things. So from probably my second year at college, as much as training as a performer, I spoke to every teacher I could so that I could start learning the other side. And that caused many an argument. Many a teacher said, "Are you stupid?" But when I left drama school, I had two aims: perform in Chicago the musical, choreograph on the West End. And within 3 years of leaving drama school, I'd done both.
Wow. Next goal. Thank you. Next.
So yeah, but I knew this is how I wanted to make my living doing something that brought me joy. And at that moment in my life, that's what it was. Luckily,
it still bring you joy.
Luckily, it still is.
How much do you love the studio?
It looks slightly different now, but
okay, so tell us a little bit about this. I mean, I love the West End. I actually took Declan to his first major performance on the West End. He saw Mamma Mia.
Classic.
Yeah, right. And you have to. So tell us a little bit about your experience on the West End choreography, being a choreographer.
So when I left college, and you leave and you kind of graduate and you're just left into the world. No one tells you what to do next. I was very lucky. I'd signed with, at the time, one of the biggest agents in London. Side note, they were useless.
If you're listening to this.
Absolutely. If you're listening, you were useless. I had 2 auditions in a year from them.
Wow.
Every other jobs I got myself, because they were just, I don't know what they were doing. This is how useless they were. Sorry, side note, this is how useless they were. At the time, I was dating a 6'3" Egyptian man who got called in to audition for the role of Peter Pan. Could I get an audition? No. Someone explain that. So they weren't great. So I left, and on my first week of leaving, I went back into the college to print a CV, but like a normal work CV, to get a muggle job, to get a bar or waitress work or whatever. And while I was there, the phone rang. The phone rang, and it was someone who was producing a new musical, and they were looking for dancers. The agent that I'd had previously said, well, if you have dancers, you'll need a choreographer, and I've got just the person. He sat in front of me. And before I knew, I was in the back of a black cab being driven to rehearsals. When I got there, the show was about the Small Faces, a mod 60s band that I knew nothing about.
Great.
It was written by a woman called Carol Harrison. That's a whole that woman is a whole podcast in herself. But it was directed by a guy called Tony McHale, who'd won a BAFTA, and incredible, and a cast of great people. So I jumped in. It was having a little workshop. It was some of the worst choreography I've ever created. But they gave me the job. They gave me, and I became resident choreographer. I was 20, just about to turn 21 when I.
Oh my gosh, you were a baby.
I was a baby. And then the show had various re-rehearsals, re-workshops, re-shows. Then it opened in London at the Vaults in Waterloo. I went to do Mamma Mia. I came back and they told me it was transferring to the West End. So we did that. And actually, funnily, I wasn't there in any of the process because the show had taken so long. I'm talking nearly 6 years from first rehearsal till we hit the West End. My life had to carry on. And by that time, I'd met my husband and we had other jobs coming in and blah, 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 blah. So I recast and I choreographed. The choreography wasn't going to change. It was just need to be taught to new dancers. So I auditioned. I put my best friend as my associate choreographer and dance captain, she's incredible. It was written, it was danced perfectly for her. And she did it. She choreographed it. I never saw it. I've never seen it. I never saw it in the West End. There was a sign outside that said excellently choreographed from the Daily Express, and Brian May from Queen complimented the choreography.
And you said some of your worst?
Right? No. By the time I'd got there, it's a show I'm incredibly proud of. That first rehearsal, I look back and think, what was I doing? But the choreography, by the time we got to London, when we did the first London run, I spent hours watching old footage. And I don't know if you know who P.P. Arnold is, the girl who sings, Just Call Me Angel of the Morning. So she famously dated the lead singer of the Small Faces. And she was in rehearsal. She's in the show. She's a part of the show. Someone plays her in the show. And she was in the rehearsals with me. And I picked her brains for hours. And I would say, did you do this? And she was like, yeah, it's like you were there. Like, she was an amazing character to have in the room just to check with. And it was an amazing experience. The whole thing was brilliant.
Fantastic. So the next part I want to go to is, now we know you worked on a cruise ship, and that is where you met your fabulous husband. So
I did.
How did you end up on a boat, first of all? How did
I end up on a boat? So, as I said, there was only 2 things I ever wanted to do. Chicago and choreography. Yeah. So in my 3rd year at college, I started to choreograph quite a lot. I was doing a lot for ITV, which is a TV company in the UK, and I was doing bits and bobs. And then an audition came through for Chicago. Chicago had a contract with Royal Caribbean, so it was what they called Broadway at Sea. And it was cast by the team of Broadway. It was taught by the same team, but you just did it on a boat. So I went in my 3rd year, and I got right to the end. I was there all day, right to the end. This was in the April before we graduated. I got right to the end and I didn't get the job. I sang the wrong song. That's what happened. I completely sang the wrong song. I actually listened to the advice of people at college and I sang the wrong song instead of just following what I should have done. Because my audition song had always been Corner of the Sky from Pippin. And if they wanted a pop rock song, I would get them to play it poppy and rocky. And if they wanted a ballad, I'd get them to play it slow. That was it. I had 2 songs. That's the only thing I sung, because I know I sing them well. But the casting director, Duncan Stewart, had just cast Pippin on Broadway. So I thought, well, this would be really stupid, going in and singing a Pippin song to the man who's just cast Pippin.
Yeah.
What I should have done is gone in and sing the song from Pippin. I would have got the job. But alas, 6 months later, the auditions came around again. And I auditioned again. I think it was in the November. And then I got the job, which is a dream come true. It was an absolute dream come true. I finished the Panther contract and flew to Miami to rehearse Chicago. I did Chicago for 9 months, came out. So it was one of those contracts. I was 22. I was still a baby, really. I was one of the youngest in the cast, floating on at the time, the biggest cruise ship in the world.
Yeah.
Around the Caribbean with nothing. I was being paid a ridiculous amount of money, really, for a 22-year-old doing that kind of show.
Yeah. But good for you.
Which is amazing. I came back to the UK. I didn't do very well in auditions in the UK. Just wasn't working for me. I opened my own production company. We did a few shows, and then I got the call to do Mamma Mia for the same company. So I went back to Mamma Mia, slightly heartbroken. I'd broken up with, I was a bit all over the place. I'd got off Chicago. I'd gone to Berlin to audition for Chicago, was going to Germany, and I got cut. I did 8 counts and got cut. And they were casting the part I just spent 9 months playing. Now, I'm not an egotistical man, but I know I dance it well. I know there are many things I can't do. Fosse is something I can do very, very well. And I was just stood in the wrong place. They couldn't see me. So
some things just aren't meant to be, obviously.
yeah, and I didn't overly want to go back to a ship, but I thought, you know what? The job's there, the money's great. Let me go and escape for a year and see what had happened. In this time, I hadn't really danced, so I hadn't really danced for about a year.
Okay.
I'd just taken a bit of a pause. I went to do Mamma Mia at the same. So you rehearse in a facility in Miami, and then you go to the ship. On the last day, you have an office run where the office watch you to make sure you're not shit, basically.
The last day? Oh, that's...
I know.
Okay.
Someone really needs to rethink that idea, but...
Exactly. Oh my gosh. No pressure.
In walks other casts, and in walks my now husband. I looked around the corner and said, oh, he's cute. Little did I know he'd done the same to me.
I love this.
And then I only had a week left of my time in Miami before I joined the ship, and he was going to China. He's a singer. Wow. He was going to China to do a ship. So we had a week. We had a date in Starbucks, but it was a very much, I probably am not going to see you again. Yeah. It's been lovely. You're great. And then probably a month passed and we got talking, and then the text went from like once a week to once a day to all day and that was 12-hour time difference. So he was in China, I was in the Caribbean. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Oh my gosh, how cute. So you weren't even on the same ship.
We weren't on the same boat. We weren't even the same part of the world. But I think that helped in a way, because we got to know each other really well.
Yeah.
Without the pressure of being in the same place. And like, it was on a 12-hour time difference. So when we did speak, so he would be getting up when I was going to bed and we'd speak, and then the opposite way round. But we could still both live our lives and do our jobs. And we understood, we both worked on a ship. So we understood Wi-Fi on a ship is really fucking bad.
It's a really good point. When the messages don't come down, you're like, what the hell's happening?
Like, Wi-Fi was really bad. Things, you have cast outings or last minute. And ships are hard work. Yeah. Like, they're a whole other emotional capacity to work on board a ship. It's a bit like going back to college and being put in a dorm room, and you make friends with people you would never be friends with because they're there.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's got to be, in a way, like, nice, but also you can't escape it either. Like, if somebody really
cannot escape.
Or the drama, it's like, it's all condensed.
And the drama is on another level. And on Mamma Mia, I somehow managed to find myself in the middle of quite a lot of it. Not on purpose, really. Yeah. But I was still a bit angry at the world. Mm-hmm. I look back now and don't particularly like that version of me. How Jesus fell in love with me. For the listeners, my husband is called Jesus. I'm not religious. My husband's... Just to clear that up.
Side note. Jesus.
How he fell in love with me, because I don't think I was a particularly nice person. I was quite just angry and at the world. Yeah. But he did, luckily. And he still does, so.
We love Jesus. He's the best. You're Jesus. Anyway. Yeah. So, your husband is from Valencia?
He is.
Originally. So, I'm really curious to learn why you decided to move here and not the UK.
First reason, he would not have moved to the UK.
Deal breaker.
No, that's boundary. So we lived in the UK together for about 3 months while we were producing a musical together. And then we did a ship together and we came back, and I suppose it was very much of what's next for us in our lives. Like, what do we want to achieve next? So I was done dancing. On my last contract, I'd ripped both hip flexors. I damaged my knee and my ankle. I didn't have it in me anymore. It wasn't bringing me joy to dance and perform in that capacity anymore.
So and tough on your body.
It was really tough on my body, and my body is not made to be a dancer. It's still not, really. I don't look after it well enough for it to look. And Jesus was a singer, but the joyous thing about Jesus being a singer was he didn't need to sing to be happy. Like, lots of performers need to do that to be happy. But
Yeah.
Jesus had created a whole personality and life outside of his job, which most performers don't manage to do. And he'd done that beautifully.
That's awesome.
So he was equally ready to pause as well. The UK is dreary and cold and wet, and work-wise, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was very much ready to go and retrain altogether. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I knew I needed to be creative, but I was probably going through a bit of a crisis of what's next.
Yeah, heard. I understand that one.
Right? Like, I don't know what I feel like that chapter of my life had been done. I was a performer.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do now. So then I said, well, I'll come. So in January 2019, I moved to Valencia to see how it was going to be. There was no commitment. We lived with his parents, and it was very much when this doesn't work, we'll rethink,
Yeah.
you know. And it's beautiful here. I mean, really, from Skegness, which is literally our end of the world, the best thing about it is the road out of it. It's cold, it's dreary. To here, because also we'd have had to live in London. If we'd have moved to the UK, it wasn't like we were going to go and live in the hills of Yorkshire, or we were either going to live in Skegness, where work opportunities equal nada, or London, where we can't afford to live.
Yeah, be in a shoebox.
So the decision was kind of easy to make, really. It was kind of made for us, really. Plus, I could not bring Jesus to the UK.
Was it difficult for you to get a visa at that time, or was it more flexible?
No, it was so easy because it was all pre-Brexit.
You sneaky little bastard.
I know.
Lucky.
So I was one of the last kind of appointments before they closed the Brexit thing.
Amazing.
So it was,
and they honor that. They have to continue to honor that for.
Yeah. So it was so easy.
And then so nothing has to change for you ever, like. But now you're married. No, I don't have to do that
silly like. Well, no, the marriage didn't really make any difference. I suppose if they were to suddenly change. Because who knows in this crazy world what's going to happen. If there was suddenly to say, right, all foreigners out, I suppose, like a bit like in the States, I would probably be safer because I'm married to a
Spaniard, yeah.
To a Spaniard. But, yeah, it was quite easy. Full disclaimer, Jesus is a paperwork person. He enjoys admin of stuff. Okay. So I did a lot of just following him around and nodding and saying see, but I remember it being quite easy and simple. I didn't have now you have to have so much money in your bank and all that. I didn't have to have any of that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you got here before Brexit was officially over.
Yeah, that was the dream.
Oh my goodness. And now, okay, what have the benefits been? What have you liked about living here? I mean, we know it's beautiful, but anything in particular?
Do you know, it's I get the best of both worlds. I lived in London for 6 years. I don't mind hustle and bustle, but I grew up in a tiny town.
Yeah.
And I find with Valencia, I get both. I can feel like I'm in a city because it is. That also feels like a little town. And I have to say, my love affair with Valencia didn't start as soon as I got here. I spent 9 months here pretty miserable. And not because I didn't love the city and not because I didn't love but I'd gone from being Cameron the director, Cameron the choreographer, Cameron the dancer, to Cameron, Jesus' boyfriend.
Yeah.
I didn't speak the language and was somewhat paralysed to learn it. Like, I knew the easy fix to that was learn the language, but something paralysed me into not being able to do that.
Well, I understand that very well because it's almost like you're getting assimilated in a way, and it's like you need to learn the language, but you also kind of have to like decompress and grieve your own life. Like your pre-life. Like it's hard to explain because you know what you need to do, but you still have to like close the door over here before you can really dig in, and that's a process. I don't know if that resonates with you, but
completely. It was because my family. So I kind of had to grieve the life of that kind of floating on a ship and landing in St. Martin, having a cocktail and going to do a bit of all that jazz at night. You know what I mean? That freedom I'd had. The money had run out, quite honestly, from those contracts. So it wasn't like I was like, woohoo!
Yeah.
And then I wasn't with my sister. And I haven't lived with my family by this point for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
But something about not being in the same felt it was quite difficult. And it's something I still find odd. I'm closer to them than I ever was.
Right.
Working on a ship, yeah, they feel further away. Probably as my life here grows more, they feel
Yeah.
further away. So
Get that.
Jesus, I'm lucky. I am lucky. All of Jesus' friends speak English. There's a big, lovely group of friends who, from day one, welcomed me in as one of them. And now it feels like I went to school with them. They are the loveliest group of people. You know, I could go for a drink or coffee with them without Jesus now. And we have enough shared stories and I love it. And I was lucky they spoke English, so I didn't feel like the foreigner at the end of the table. Although, if I probably did, I'd probably have pushed me to learn the language a bit quicker.
Yeah, but you know, paso a paso.
So, Jesus' mum speaks a little bit of English. Jesus' dad speaks no English at all. And we were living with them. So that was an custom. I'd been so used to living on my own. And now I was living with a family. And it wasn't like they were on top of us because we had a lot of space. But it's a hard thing to go when you go from living on your own where you can just wake up at 2 o'clock and make yourself a cup of tea. Or eat when you want, or do what you want, to going to live in someone's house and accustomed to what they eat and how they do it. And silly things like they eat at 9:30 at night, but by 6:30 I was like, you know, like
eat. Yeah, totally. I know.
so
it took a bit.
It took a bit, and also I was still traveling back to the UK for chunks of time to work and then come back.
Oh, so you're like
because I still had to work. Like I didn't have a job here.
That was my next thing. I was gonna say, how did you get into work? Yeah. How did the studio, like, what made you decide?
How did the studio start?
Yeah,
Firstly, the studio we currently have was not on the plan. That's a very important note. During those 9 months, I was still very much working out what was next. Because I had a brand new start. I could have been anything. You know, I did the whole, do I do my PNG, whatever thing to be a teacher? Do I go down that and go into teaching in a mainstream school, history? But those things came back to me like, do I do that? Can I do that? What can I do? Anyway, me and Jesus were producing a show that summer in the UK called Legends and Divas. And at the end of that, I said to him, I've seen, if you are an expat anywhere in the world, I'm sure there are expat Facebook groups and if you're not in them, join them because they are joyous to sit and watch.
They are.
Don't take any advice from any of them, but just sit back and watch them because they are joyous.
I'm always like, what are these people talking about? They're fucking crazy.
Like, what? My favourite ones are like, hi, I'm an expat. I'll be moving in 2029. Could you give me some recommendations? No, Carol, we can't. You know? Anyway, so I noticed on a Facebook group, someone had put, hi, I'm a contemporary dancer and I'd like to do some classes. Does anyone know any? But I'd need them to be in English. And there was a scattering of replies underneath of, oh, I'd love this, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, so I posted and said, I could teach it. If you're looking for a teacher and you have a studio, I could teach it. Anyway, that kind of fizzled to nothing. So then I said to you, I think I'm going to try teach a class. Just one, an adult jazz class on a Saturday morning. I might only get 5 people, but I might make some friends. And Jesus said to me, being the lovely person he is, completely, but please just be prepared that it might not work. Because I don't think there are many other English people or English-speaking people here.
Okay. Well, Vini.
This is a lovely thing I get to use against him when he says to me, I don't think that'll work. And I'll go, oh, really? You know, the last time you said this. So I put up a little post, you know, on the little Facebook. I went, hi, I'm going to be teaching this class. And it was full, 30 people. Boom.
Wow.
And I ran that on the Saturdays kind of from September to November because I was still going back to the UK to do some work. I was directing a panto. And then I said in the January, hey, I might add a kids class on a Saturday. Super simple. I'm just going to add 2 kids classes either side of that adult jazz class. So I'll work for 3 hours on a Saturday morning, but there seems to be a calling for it. And I started. So this was 2020. I did that for 2 months before COVID happened. And by that time, the classes were really busy. They were full for those Saturday mornings. There was clearly I'd found a little niche here that still to this day, no one else has seemed to fill, which blows my mind slightly. Yeah. I'm not a bad teacher either. I mean, there was a niche and I think I'm quite good at the thing I do.
Like, makes sense if you're a choreographer to show people how to do the moves you would naturally with that.
Well, that was my,
and teacher.
And I grew up with two amazing teachers that it was always about just being in the room. It didn't matter how good you were when you left the room or what you did while you were there, but it was always about the group of people that were there together. And we'll have this hour together and we'll enjoy it. And that's what I did. And I enjoyed. And then so by the time we locked down, I kind of knew lockdown was coming. We all knew it was coming. And lots of other dance teachers I knew had talked about going online to teach over those 2 weeks that we were planned to be locked down. So I did. 2 days before we locked down in Spain, I jumped online and I taught 3 classes a week online for the whole of lockdown.
Oh my gosh. Good for you.
And we had a little WhatsApp group, and every morning we'd check in with each other, and people would organise, and then people would say, "Can I add my friend who lives in? Can I add her to the group? And can I add?" And before we knew it, the group had grown, and actually people probably weren't doing the classes anymore, really, because they were over. It got to a point where everyone thought, "I can't bake any more banana bread, do any more hit work, or do any more puzzles. I'm over it." And that was it, really. And then when we got back from when COVID kind of died down, I thought, I'll add a few more classes in to the timetable. Like I'll teach in a week. That carried on growing and growing and growing until we get to where we are now with 24 classes a week and a team of 9 and a new studio. So it all has happened. I mean, it's been hard work.
Yeah, but very
I've worked at it, but the beginning stages were very much me going, I'm going to run with this till it's, maybe this will stop. Maybe I'll get another year out of this and then it'll all, but it's just grown.
I think you're committed now. This is your second.
I think so, yeah.
Now, was your goal too with these classes, was it more so for the adults or was it
Yeah, I love teaching adults.
Yeah. What
There's
makes
something special. There's something special about teaching adults. There's something special about watching people who either didn't think they were possible, didn't think it was possible, had decided, oh, I live in this comfort zone, so I don't do things like that. Yeah. And I don't think that adults were very good at being bad at stuff.
No.
Like we're not very good at, as a kid, you did a hobby and it didn't matter whether you were good or not. If you enjoyed it with your friends, you went.
Yeah.
And adults forget we need that as well. We need to do that. It's ingrained in us to be around people and to do things that bring us joy. And I so adore teaching adults and those adults that we have, as you know. Mm-hmm. It's a special group of people. Yeah, it really is a very special group of people. And the things they achieve every year.
Argentine
tangos that they never thought they could do even at the beginning of the lesson to what they do at the end is the best part of my job. I do think that's a good thing. Like that's something that
because I always wanted to be a dancer and it just didn't work out for my childhood. And so part of when we moved here, I was like, I'm going to reclaim my childhood. And sometimes I'm like, what the fuck he wants us to do? What? And then I'm like, that's it? That's all we have to do?
Exactly. That's exactly.
And you don't always get it right, but like it is nice to have that, like that little like bit of like God, and then be like, okay, oh well, I am capable to like move through that process. Is really nice.
And I think what's lovely, for those of you who don't know, my school is all English speaking, so everyone here is an expat of some form, or has been at some form in their life. So either they've moved here and now do this, or they're Spanish people who once lived in the UK for 6 months and now are back. I think that's what makes the building so special, is everyone here is searching for the same thing, which is that little bit of home comfort.
Yeah, regardless whether
they enjoyed where they came from. Not everyone leaves their city or home because they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Some move for love, some move for work, some move because they are adventurous of the world. Not everyone dislikes where they came from.
Exactly.
But there is something about meeting other people here who, if you'll know with Declan, that have kids that are the same age or understand the complexity of that world and schools and doing
finding a good place for them.
Because if you were in a stuck for you, like if your little one, you could text someone in the group and someone would say, yeah, I'll have them for an hour, or I'll have them for, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That camaraderie.
It's that for me is what makes the school so special. And that is the same from babies to, and I love teaching little ones because I just think 99% of them will never go on to dance or perform. Yeah. But the little lessons they've learned will stay with them forever. The fact that musical theatre people there are 7-year-olds who can stand up and say, hi, my name's this. I can speak clearly and confidently without worry about anything. If that's all they gain, I'm okay with that. You
I
know,
think
I'm
that's
really proud.
such an important thing to highlight too. Like theater gives you such, and arts in general, but I'll say specifically like theater gives you that ability to articulate. When I was in after university, I did a Shakespeare for business professionals class, and we had to take like sonnets and stuff
Yeah,
from
yeah.
some of his monologues, and we had to like speak them in iambic pentameter and everything like that, so that we were enunciating and building that confidence. Because Shakespeare's hard to speak, and it. But now it's like you do realize how
You don't
much you
realize.
get caught up on your own words sometimes,
And
and
once
then
you've been on
gives you the
stage,
ability. Yeah,
dressed like something ridiculous, like
yeah,
nothing, you have a power that goes, oh, you want me to speak in front of 3 people about the accounts for the year? Yeah, all right.
okay, okay,
You
yeah,
realise actually, I think the joyous thing about theatre is that you realise no one knows what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing.
yeah.
No one in any aspect of life knows what they're doing. No expat knows what they're doing. No one has the answers. No business, no one has the answers. We all think we do, but actually,
Mm-hmm.
all of us are just having a good go.
This is
You
my
know?
first time living too, so yeah, that's why that's why I said
Do
it
you know what I mean?
different.
Like
My friend, I don't
everyone's
know.
fake. Everyone is faking it until they make it.
Well, yeah.
Really, and I think that's what theatre gives you the ability to do. Is go into a room and be confident and go, be confident in the fact of, I don't really know what I'm talking about, but here we go.
I'm gonna pretend.
I'm going to pretend. I can pretend to.
All those bullshit essays I had to write in university about scripts and analysis and all that
That's what I
stuff.
mean.
Yeah, I can talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, yeah. That's all we're doing.
Are there any cons to living in Valencia? Is there anything that you're like, ugh, I don't like this?
The bureaucracy. Although I don't deal with it.
Jesus.
But I'm lucky. You know, if I didn't have a Spanish speaking husband,
Yeah.
I don't know if the school would be quite what it is. Because in the new building, when we bought this place, the paperwork and the contracts and the calls and the meetings and all of that obviously happened in Spanish. And although my
Mm.
Spanish has got better, I was lost in the first 3 sentences. And I think it could be quite easy to get yourself wrapped up in signing something you don't understand. The whole autonomo tax, the self-employed system here is a little bit odd
Good to
as
know.
well. It's not impossible, it's just not in the favour of the person trying to work for themselves.
That's so interesting because especially for my US like brain, I find that so bizarre.
And I find it quite bizarre for the UK as well. So over my time here, I've done work that is in the UK would be classed as employed and self-employed. And in the UK, I know it kind of anything you do employed wipes out the tax of what you do self-employed, basically. So that it all equals itself out. So really, you're only paying one amount of tax.
Okay.
Now, here in Spain, I believe this to be correct. Someone please feel free to drop in the comments and correct me if I'm not. Basically, so when I worked Imagine, when I worked at a secondary school, I was charged on that.
Mm-hmm.
I was taxed on that. I was taxed on what I make here. I was taxed on another contract I had with someone else. So I was taxed 3 times. I paid Social Security 3 times.
So each entity is it taxed differently too because of the different
Yeah, there are different
labels?
taxes, and they all kind of goes into the same pot. But it's not very easy to understand. That for me, I'm very lucky. But I think that's an easy fix of. We also have a very good accountant who just says you can't do that. But if you did this, that's your best way of getting out of this. Or he's brilliant. My partner's family own a pharmacy, so he works for them and indirectly works for me as well. That for me is the probably the downside, and I can't really think of any. They don't have sausage rolls. Greg's rolls is probably the major other one.
There are some things from home too that you're just like, oh man, I could really go for
Yeah,
that
just a
now.
few. But because I hadn't lived in the UK for quite a while by the time I moved here. You know, when you're living in the middle of the ocean, you kind of the stuff that you crave kind of disappears over time. So
Yeah. I'm on a
red
boat.
tape, the red tape is quite tough sometimes.
Yeah, I think the Spanish bureaucracy, and it's so easy to say that it's a situational basis, but it's so true. Like here, it's like what works for this situation is you could have 99% of the things similar, and it's just not
It's
going to
going to be
work out the same.
completely different.
And you're
And then
just
you
like, but
go
why?
and Maria's decided, oh, she's having a lunch break from 11 to 12. And when she comes back, no, sorry, you can't use that photocopy over there because someone else has got the key. So, oh, we just need a copy of this. Can you do it? There's a photocopy of that. No, sorry, Amparo's on a lunch. She only does that on a Tuesday. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what? You'll have to book an appointment again, and the next one's
In
March
8 weeks.
2029. those type of things.
Yeah.
Having Spanish people also find that frustrating.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, sometimes you feel like,
Not alone.
oh, it's because I'm English, or it's because I'm American, or it's because I'm Irish. You feel like it's a bit anti-gearing, but actually, Spanish people find it equally as frustrating and infuriating, but they're just used to it.
Yeah,
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. So let me ask you this too, because I think it's really important to highlight the pros and cons of Valencia, but also like how inclusive. I mean, I feel Valencia is inclusive, but you and your husband, obviously a gay married couple. How do you
Yes.
feel the LGBTQ plus community is represented here, and if they are well accepted?
So obviously, I can only speak for myself and Angie, and I am very aware as a gay white couple, we are the majority of a minority. If you know what I mean, we are the
Yeah,
one.
absolutely.
If that, so I'm very aware as I say that this is probably not the case for everyone. However, I'm also a part-time drag queen, and the only time I've received one was intense is from an American lady and someone else from Europe. So I've never received it from a Spanish person. I find Spanish people are not so much for or against as they really don't care.
Yeah.
It's not they're pro anything or anti anything. They're just, you live your life. It makes no difference to me. They're very no pasa nada type, do what you want. We walk the Pride Parade every year as a school, and that's always this wonderful watch of celebration, and it very much is a protest here compared to other places. And prides across the US they're party, aren't they? They're probably, some would argue they've lost their sense of protest. I personally think prides have to be a mix of both, and it's very difficult to mix both because one will always win. Here it's very much a protest, but I find looking for wedding venues, we didn't come across any weirdness. Spain was one of the very first countries to accept gay marriage. As a previously Catholic country, they're very much like, you go for it. We've started adoption processes that it's all been very, and it wasn't like, here's an adoption meeting for gay people. There was straight couples in there. It was the same process for everyone. It wasn't dictated by anything. So for me,
it's been pretty.
I feel super safe. And I teach numerous trans, non-binary, everyone from across that colour, the rainbow spectrum. And they all seem to feel safe and accepted here. I know schools have dedicated people inside them, a lot of them, psychologists that help with those things as well.
That's good to know.
Obviously, it's not perfect. No country is perfect at this,
Right.
But I'm going to get this acronym wrong. ILGA or IGLA, the International Gay, the map that gives you kind of the top places to live and where they are. Spain comes quite high on that list every year as a country where I can't say.
Yeah, I think it's important to just like highlight that too. I mean, because coming from the US and you see where things are happening and rights are getting taken here and there, I'm always dumbfounded, especially like just from like a woman's rights perspective, right? We don't know how Catholic Spain is. I mean, they get involved with like all the saints' days. Like you don't work, okay?
Exactly.
Like if
it's
they
still
can
a
figure
religious
it out.
country. It's still a very religious country at its heart. But those fiestas have just become part of the calendar. I think if you ask most people, like Fias is a religious holiday. By its origin, Fias is St. Joseph's.
Right.
Fias has, but that's long gone. The connection's gone. For me, and I can say I speak for myself, but as I speak to other expats, other parents of LGBTQI kids and adults, the general consensus is they feel really safe. And like I say, the only time someone took to social media to attack me personally as a drag queen and therefore a gay man was an American lady.
Not representing our country very well, no?
No,
lady,
sorry.
Lady, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Oh
lots of places I hope she is. None of them are
kind.
Yeah, none of them are kind, so I won't say it.
Oh, I love that you and Jesus are looking into adopting. That will be fabulous.
Well, that's a whole other podcast. There is a process that is not so LGBT friendly, but hey ho, across the world.
And also, I didn't realize. I don't think someone was saying to me that like because there's obviously a couple families here that are from the U.S. They have used surrogacy for their children.
because it's illegal here. It's
I
illegal
didn't
here.
know that. Like, I'm like, what do you mean you can't have like? But I think
I
it's
mean, there's
illegal for
obviously,
everybody, right?
yeah, there's obviously loopholes.
Huh.
I
Okay.
think that the thing of paying someone to have your child, like there are agencies in the US that do that for you. That
Yeah.
the business of it is illegal.
Mm.
But if you were to say to me, "Hey, I don't mind," like my friend could have one, and I could give them some money to help support them not being at work. I think there's loopholes
To make it happen if you
to
wanted to.
jump through, but it's
Interesting.
just not something me and Jesus were bothered about, even in looking into.
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
that could be a very convoluted situation too.
I think it just gets confused. And actually, we weren't bothered. I know some gay parents really want their child to be biologically theirs,
Yeah.
but it wasn't something me and Jesus were bothered about. He has an adopted sister. Jesus' sister is from China. She was
Oh, cool.
adopted. And I look at her and I just think I don't need to. Personally, for us, that wasn't a problem. But yeah, there's lots of things about that. It's very odd. Some of
Well,
the
maybe we'll
things.
have to revisit that
That's a
conversation
whole other. Yeah, that's a whole other part.
once everything is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Right.
Is there anything else you can think of about your transition to life in Spain that people don't know they need to know?
I think my biggest advice for anyone moving to Spain or to any country, really, you have done it for something new. You were looking for something
Mm.
new, and I think a lot of my biggest advice is, and I was guilty of this to start off with, and I've become much happier now I've stopped doing it, is therefore you do something new. My dad always says to me, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got.
Mm.
Leave your country because you were stressed out with work or whatever, and you decided to have a break, and then continue to work, but just in the sunshine. That to me doesn't make any sense. So if you're
Yeah.
coming, try something new. Try all those things that you didn't think you could do where you were before.
Mm.
Whether that's a dance class, a cookery, it doesn't matter. Whether that is, if you weren't a particularly social person before, just try be one now and work out whether
Yeah.
was, there's the old things in there. If a flower doesn't bloom, do you take it out of its place, or like
Yeah.
you can pick it up and move it, but if it's not then watered, and it's not going to bloom either. So I think that's my biggest advice, is throw yourself in full whack. Don't try and recreate your life somewhere else.
Yes.
And I find, again, I find American expats tend to want to do that because they feel that they want that familiarity
Yeah.
thing. They want to find cranberries at Thanksgiving, and I completely get it. But sometimes you just got to let the cranberries go.
One of my favorite, that's what, go, let the cranberries go. There we go. I love that. One of my favorite things is when people are like, oh, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And I'm like, nothing. It's Spain. They don't have
Yeah, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
I
And
won't be
they're like, ah. And it's just like, we're not the center of the universe. I know you guys
My
think that,
favorite
but like,
thing
we're
is to
not.
on the run up to Thanksgiving is going to those Facebook groups and watching people trying to work out where to get a turkey from. It is my favourite thing ever. People going, has anyone found cranberries? What about marshmallow things to put? Calm down, friends. Just
I
use a big chicken. It's all going to be okay.
I mean, I get keeping certain things alive for that comfort. Like, I
Completely.
get it. But then equally, like, I agree with what you're saying. And there's definitely some specific situations in my life where I'm like, you need to like put the bag down and like enjoy what this is and not focus so
Or
much on what
create the
that
new.
was.
You can still celebrate. For me, it's like bonfire night in the UK. On the
Yeah.
5th of November, I love bonfire night. It was incredibly special for me. Most of my favourite memories of growing up were connected to bonfire night.
Mm-hmm.
And my first couple of years here, I was really sad when it got to the 5th, and it was just another day.
Yeah. I get
So I
that.
bought some sparklers and did them, and now I have a hot chocolate on the 5th, and that's what I do. So
Yeah.
it's just changed slightly, but I do think the joy of going to live in a new country is you're in a new country. Obviously, find those creature comfort. Think sometimes when I miss home, and there are certain things I want. I will not drink Spanish black tea. It's
Mm.
shit. I will, sorry, Spain. You do many things well, but tea is not one of them.
Got some good jamon and some cheese. Like, oh, and olive
Right?
oil.
So then
And the
I
wine.
get tea bags from the UK. Do you know, like, it's
Fair.
not that deep. And I think sometimes we can get in trying to build a life somewhere. You go, oh, I take that bit from my old one. No, just
Yeah.
start new, start fresh, do things that you never did before.
I think that's such a good advice. It's like you leaving for a reason. This is a chance to be the new version of you, whatever that looks like. Like get uncomfortable. I said to myself, sometimes I get tired of being uncomfortable. I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but
Or I get on a daily basis.
but equally like where the discomfort is where like the growth and opportunity lies. So if you're
That
uncomfortable,
happens.
and you know, at the end of the day, like if you can recognize that and just embrace that, oh, life is uncomfortable, I might as well get the most experience out of it that I can, and like fucking balls to the wall, like dive in. I totally agree with what you're saying.
And it's like the language thing, you know, speaking, you don't speak Spanish, you go and try and hash about it. Because the joyous thing about a difficult situation like that is both of you feel awkward. The person talking to you also feels uncomfortable because what they want to do is try to help you and they can't. So enjoy the discomfort.
Yeah, I love that.
And maybe you wanted cheese and you come out with a load of sausages. But next time you'll go home and go, that's not the word for cheese. Great. You know what I mean? You'll have learned something. I just think, and I'm not always very good at this myself, but I do think putting yourself in, you've already been really brave leaving your country.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bravery, you have that ability because you left home.
Yeah.
If you chose to, obviously there are situations where it's not an option, but
Right.
if you chose to move yourself to a different country, you are brave by nature.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a minority of people. No one does that. You're a brave person. So continue the bravery when you get there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good, I definitely.
But I know I'm not, I look at me going, yeah, do that. I didn't do that at all.
Well,
I started an English-speaking company. That's what I did. But
there was a need for it. You're
there was a
servicing
need for it. And
a growing part of the community.
I've never wanted to be a business owner. You know, there are lots of bits about the job I don't love, and they make me feel awkward. I hate, but
I love that you said that because I always have this, like my dad always says, life is what happens while you're making plans. And I joke all the time, like, don't tell the universe what you don't want because that's exactly what you'll fucking get. I didn't want to be a mom. I never wanted to get married. Well, that's. And then I knew why. And there's like and then I'm like, what? So it's like, tell the universe what you don't want. Don't want to be a business owner. Blah, blah, blah.
But I love it now. Like I love, there's bits of it I could do that, but I love it because it's the part of my life that I didn't know I needed. Actually,
yeah.
So
that's it.
And I think the consensus of what I see from the amount of expats that come in through the door, from kids to adults, is you just have to go for it.
Yeah, that's a good.
And then after a year, if you don't like it, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to move home, or you're going to try a different country. I know lots of people who come here thinking Valencia is the place, Spain is the perfect place, and after 6 months they go, I love it, but it's not quite what I was thinking. I'm going to go and try Prague or...
I think that's a good point, because we have a lot of people in these classes too that are from all different parts of Europe, and like English is our commonality.
We have people from 23 countries of the world.
Yeah, that's incredible.
My last count. And
you think that you go to a place you visited a few times, you try to immerse yourself in it. And we did this to a lot of places. Like I looked at Costa Rica, Argentina, and some other places. It's hard to find a place where you can vibe with. That's really, and because it's not forever. Like there's not great things about every place. Consistent.
No place is perfect. No place in the world is perfect. Like you're never going to find. I suppose it's like dating, isn't it? You're going to date a few places, and even then, the person you end up marrying, you might not be with it forever. It might be great for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and then you fall out of love with it.
Yeah, and then you have to. But on that note, you have to choose it every day. Like, and you both have the place, like Valencia as a place, is going to show up the same way. You have to choose to enjoy it. Or you have to choose
go
not.
You know, it's like FIAS, you know, lots of people complain about it every year. Okay, you have 2 options. Leave while FIAS happens.
Yeah.
And if that's not possible, either get on with it and stop moaning. Or the better thing, jump in and enjoy it.
Yeah, I love FIAS.
Like, jump in, feet first, and go, do you know what? I'm not a big fan of noise. I'm not a big fan of crowds. But I could spend a month being miserable and moaning, or I could just jump my feet in to what I can do and enjoy about it.
Amen to that. Cameron, this has been amazing. I appreciate you and all your insight and advice.
Thank you.
Maybe next time we interview Dame. We interview the Dame.
Dolly, she'll always chat about herself. God knows, all over.
I'm the mom who knows nada. This is Cameron Hawk coming to you from BCC Studios in Valencia, Spain. We hope you've enjoyed this chat and have fun learning all the things